Kristen, the cross-stitching runner, and welcome to my channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. And if by chance you've stumbled across this channel is all about cross-stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in. And this particular episode is going to be quite a long one because it's been a while since I've done like a proper episode like this one. I've been doing a bit of traveling. There's been a bit of life stuff going on. So got a pile of cross stitch here that I want to share with you as well. So I hope that you're comfortable and that you've got a favorite beverage, stitching, whatever else it is that you have with you to help you with being comfortable and catching up with me on this particular episode. So it's been a while. It's probably been well over a month, maybe. Hopefully it's not been 2 months. It's been a while. Anyway, today is Thursday, the 6th of July, and I'm almost a week in to my holidays. I've taken a little bit of time off work and I don't want to think about how soon I'll be back at work. I don't want to think about reality just yet. So the positive thing though is that between now and the last time we probably caught up with the stitching challenge that I'm doing, there's been 4 rounds of football happening, which means that I've got a lot of stats here with me regarding the projects I've been working on. And some of them are looking really impressive. So this particular episode is covering rounds 12 to 16 of the football challenge, the footy stitching challenge that I'm doing for myself, just to try and see some progress in many of the projects that I have. And starting tonight, we're going to be getting into round 17 of the AFL stitching challenge. So hopefully all go well. Hopefully I don't fumble over my words too much as this episode goes on, because it's been a while since I've filmed and we'll get there. So please bear with me and let's get into it. The first project that I have to share with you is Fight Like a Girl. It's designed by Tanya, Amity, and the illustration is by Elena Zhnidkova. There's a lot of reflection going on, so my absolute apologies with this one. I'll try and do my best with sharing the cover pages with you on screen. If all else fails, I'll try through editing incorporating the cover pages as well. So with Fight Like a Girl, it's connected to a couple of football teams, and as a result of them winning of the last X amount of games that have been played, I've been able to put a minimum of 442 stitches into the project. I'm saying minimum because at one stage, possibly a few weeks ago, I had taken this project with me during one of my visits to Canberra, and I had done a lot of the blue stitching that we are starting to see the outline for. I think it's Pippi Longstocking who's holding, where we can start to see her holding up the book. So I was doing a lot of stitching around there. So this particular project is being stitched on 18 count Ada. I believe it may be a navy blue or a slightly varied shade of a navy blue. And I'm using Pattern Keeper to stitch this, all DMC threads. And I am finding that just doing full cross for the entire project is working out a lot easier than a few other plans that I had, and I like how it's coming together. So I think 931, DMC 931. That has been the main color for me on this project for a little while. So it's coming together really nicely, and I'm looking forward to getting it done as well. Yeah, not much more to say on that one. The next project I have to share with you, I've called Pisces. It's a combination of a quote and the astrological symbol for Pisces, and the two fish that go two different directions. And the quote, if I can find it, if I can remember off the top of my head, because I feel like I've said the quote quite a few times now. Pisces, not everyone gets the same version of me. One will tell you that I'm a beautiful soul. Another will tell you I'm a cold-hearted asshole. Believe both. I act accordingly. So I believe that's the quote. And if all goes well, yeah. So the quote doesn't appear very well, but this will hopefully give you, I guess, a rough idea of what it will look like. I just love the colors of the fish. What I've been doing with this project so far is I've filled in the letters of words, and I've actually started breaking away a bit from the DMC thread of 3308 to start bringing this together a bit more. So this is starting to get exciting. This is starting to get a little bit more interesting. So I've done 446 stitches on this one, and it's getting there. I'm doing this on 28 count linen. Actually, this looks like even weave. Either way, it's 28 count. I'm stitching it 2/2 and using all DMC threads, and it's coming together. It'll be all right. I will need to do some personalizations to the project to help with fitting on the fabric, but wait and see as time goes on. We've got lots of time to go with this one, so wait and see. Okay, the next one. Oh, with the Pisces one, I'm stitching that sort of for myself. I don't know who exactly the artists are, who to attribute the quote to, or anything along those lines. So it's, yeah, just that's where I can't properly give the credit where it deserves. So it'll make sense. It'll be okay. The next project I have to share with you is one of my own designs. It's a hot cross stitching design. It's called Black and White Rolled Up Daisy, and it's based on a photo that I've taken of a photo. It's a photo I've taken of a flower in a garden down at my holiday home at Moore Bay. And this one I've been working on for a while. And let's see if I can go around the okay, this is just showing up so many different reflections. But that's the best I can get for the moment. And I'm stitching this on 18 count black Ada. I've been able to put a minimum of 322 stitches into it, and I am now starting to, with the background, transition into half stitch or 10th stitch rather than doing the full cross. And a lot of that is to do with wanting the actual flower in this project to be the feature of, or the focus point of the final picture rather than anything else. So this is where I'm at, and just bring this down a little bit. So I've been working a little bit on the 10th stitch that we see in for the background, and I've really mucked up somewhere with the 10th stitch in terms of where my counting is and all. So I'm being creative with what colours I'm stitching and where they're going for the background. But as far as the background's concerned, it won't really matter too much. It's also why I really don't like doing 10 stitch. It is a lot quicker, but somehow with the way my brain works with doing the 10th stitch, I'm always getting the counting out of balance. So full credit to the people who are doing like their full coverage projects just in 10 stitch or half stitch. It yeah, I take my hat off to you because the I mean it's hard. I find it hard enough to get my counting right for full coverage, like just for the full crosses. And if you've been a viewer of my channel for a while, you'll know that maths and I, or counting and I, don't get along very well. So I'll definitely be able to share with you just how well counting and I and maths and I get along at the end of this episode as well, when I provide you with my life update as well. So yeah, we'll get there. It's going to be one of those lifelong struggles, unfortunately. So anyway, moving on, talking about 10th stitch and how 10th stitch and I don't get along very well, or me counting 10th stitch. The next project I have to share with you is a dimensions kit. It's called Barnyard Kittens, and I've put a minimum of 229 stitches into this one. This is what the project will look like when it's done. And this one's really cute. I do like it. And dimensions, if you've stitched a dimensions project before, you'll know that it's a combination of full and half cross stitches. And this is where I'm at so far. And this panel here is where some of the 10th stitch is, and I'm doing okay so far because it's in an isolated area, but I guess so is black and white rolled up daisy. I don't know. It is what it is. This is being stitched on 14 count Ada. I'm using all of the fabric and floss and all the rest that came in the kit, and it's turning out really well. And what I love is that I finally finished the second cat. So I guess probably also more the third cat rather. So I guess, yeah, depending on how the Geelong Cats go with the next few rounds, I'll quite probably try and finish off the panel on the side here, and then try and start on the panel underneath their feet. So I guess where the floorboards are, for where they're sort of peeking out from around the side. It's really cool. So that's that with Barnyard Kittens. The next project I have to share with you is called Zebras by Designworks. And again, for this project, I'm using all of the called for materials, all of the fabric, floss, all that fun stuff. I've put a minimum of 213 stitches into this project, and I totally appreciate that it seems like I'm going in descending order for the number of stitches that have been put into these projects. This has been unintentional with the way that I've got all the notes put together, but it'll come together. It'll be all right. This one, I feel like I enjoy stitching this to an extent. Where I love the colours that are in this. It's being stitched on 14 count Ada, and I think if I wasn't doing this for a stitching challenge, where I had to properly count out where I was stitching, what I was stitching, all that jazz, I'd potentially enjoy it more because I'd probably feel like I'd get through it a lot quicker. But and it's also on 14 count ADA. I mean 14 count for anyone here who does stitch on the 14 counts, 18 counts and such. You know what I mean? Where it's just so much easier, it's quicker to get through the project compared with some of the other ones where we're stitching on linen or even weave or anything in between. So it's it's just a funny thing with the way the brain works, for me at least. But I just love the colourful, pretty colours that are connected to the zebras. And I've got a similar kit in my stash that are the rainbow frogs. I I do have the intent of eventually getting into it. That might be in a few years to come. Like once zebras are done, hopefully I can get into the frogs, and it'll be cool. It'll be pretty. So okay, next project is Midnight Owls, and I know that in one of the last few episodes when I was talking about Midnight Owls, I fully thought that Midnight Owls was in the same book of 12 Days of Christmas that we'll see in a few projects' time. My absolute apologies, it isn't. Midnight Owls, and this is the project that I'm referring to. So this is where I've gotten on Midnight Owls so far, but I'll give you the stats very soon. I'll show in on the screen somewhere with captions or pictures or something that the Midnight Owls is in a very different cross stitch magazine that I don't have with me. It's in Canberra at the moment, so it'll probably be in a few weeks' time when I do head down to Canberra that I'll hopefully be able to pick up that magazine to then have a physical thing to show you. So with Midnight Owls, I've got it connected to a team called the Essendon Bombers. And this particular project, I'm stitching on the 18 count Ada, which is the same fabric as Fight Like a Girl. And so far, over the last 4 rounds or so, I have put in 191 stitches. It's all using DMC threads, and it's really cool. I'm actually really happy with the choice of fabric for this one. Just with the way the colors are going with the fabric and everything, it's looking really cool. And at one stage, I thought that I had mucked up the claw for one of the owls, but I think it's going okay. And I don't know, we'll wait and see as to how much more I get onto this project. But Midnight Owls has only recently come back into rotation because I had initially been stitching a project, Autumn in Stars Hollow. So I've been working on that a bit because I wanted to get it done before the Spring in Stars Hollow. No, Summer in Stars Hollow stitching retreat that happened a month or two ago, probably three. It was a while ago. So it's all coming together. So I got Autumn in Stars Hollow finished in the lead up to the most recent stitching retreat that I did with the Black Needle Society. And you'll actually get to see later on more progress with one of their patterns called Spring in Stars Hollow. So I'm happy with how that's coming across. It'll be really good to see it done too. So let's get back into the stitching challenge. Midnight Glow. So Midnight Glow is by Kustom Krafts, and this one has been in I guess, been in my rotation for a while, or I just haven't worked on it for a while. So that's why I'm wanting to get a bit more of this done. So this one has come back into rotation intermittently as part of a team called the Carlton Blues. So if I'm not stitching Midnight Glow, I'm stitching on the Blue Mountains walking trail. I have brain freezes every so often as to which project I should be working on for Carlton Blues. Mostly because that team, they don't have a mascot, or they don't have their name attributed to any kind of animal or person or symbol or anything like that. They just have their name attributed to a colour, the blues. Anyway, logic of things, I'm not going to worry about trying to figure out. So I have put a minimum of 112 stitches into Midnight Glow. This is what it looks like right now. And I've been focusing down at the bottom corner where we see the mane of the horse. And this is being stitched on 14 count Ada. I've had the fabric in my stash for a really long time. And this, I guess, is a bit more of a close up for where I've been stitching. And it's going to be so good when I have this one done. I've had thoughts of maybe doing a horse themed quilt, or it might end up being easier for me to just get that one framed up because of just how tight I've got it on the fabric, even if I add extra fabric on the top and bottom. But we'll wait and see, and it'll just be really nice to get it done. Because it's a full coverage project, it feels almost like a tapestry to some extent. So it's feeling good, looking good. With that in mind, the next project I have to share with you is another full coverage piece. It is called A Stitch in Time, and it's by Heaven and Earth Designs. And I've got this one connected to the GWS Giants, and they've had a bit of an up and down kind of season. And I've had a minimum of 275 stitches put into this project, and this is sort of roughly what it'll look like when it's done. Okay, that will have to do for the moment with the glare. So get threads out of the way a little, and this is where I'm at so far. And just looking at it through the camera onto the laptop screen, I love how it's coming together. And this one is the mini version of it. I have seen people working on the full blown version, max colors and all the rest, and that extra detail that you get in those projects, it's absolutely worth it if you've got the time and the patience to be able to get through it. So I've definitely enjoyed watching many people working on this project and seeing their progress in it. It's really cool. So with this particular project, I believe this is 25 count easy grid fabric, and I love this fabric. The 10 by 10 squares definitely help, and I think it's a game changer as far as our stitching community is concerned. It makes a world of difference. Okay, so the next project that I have to share with you, I've been working on a fair bit, and I've actually finished putting quite a lot of stitches into it last night, and I'm really, really happy with is progress, because I am on the very last page of this project, which is really exciting because I'm seeing the finish line for the project. And if I can keep at the progress that I'm going for this next one, um, I will have it done in the time frame that I'm needing. So the project that I have to share with you is called Water Tiger 2. Um, I've got this connected to a team called the Richmond Tigers, and I've put a minimum of 285 stitches into this over the last few weeks, and it has been double, if not quadruple, that amount that I've put into it. And what I'm really, really excited to share with you is I've filled in the eyes of the tiger. So it is very much just the last page that I have to stitch. So also noting that I have done a significant personalization to the chart because of the color of the eyes. Okay, so this is it. So I personalized it with the color of the eyes, based on a chat I had with my best mate when I first started stitching this. So she said, "Oh, it'd be really cool if you could change the eyes to blue." My friend has got a fascination with blue-eyed tigers, and to actually figure out what blues I wanted to use for the tiger, actually based on the symbols for the eyes, I picked out the actual threads that I needed to use if I was going to follow the chart exactly. And then I've got a significant collection of DMC threads. And so I picked out some of the blues that are in my stash, and compared it with I guess the contrast of the colours as far as the yellows versus the blues. And if it called for, say, a dark amber kind of colour, I'd be like, okay, it needs to be like a darker blue then. And that was the type of logic that I used to select the colours for the eyes. So that's really cool. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I'm feeling really chuffed and excited about that. And my friend is actually coming up to Wollongong on Sunday. So I'm really looking forward to showing her in person how it looks, because as much as you can see a picture of it, to actually see it in person is just a whole new thing to really appreciate what's going on. So this is where I've now just got this page here that we can see, and it's really cool, and can actually start to see that reflection in the water as well, which I'm just really excited about, and I'm just super proud of how it's coming together, and it I'm just really excited about it. I really am. I'm getting towards the end of it. I can see the light, so I have to get this project done by September. Yeah, September. I need to do a few calculations. I'll get back to you really soon. Okay, so I've done some calculations, and I've got about 47 squares to go until I'm fully done with the project. And the interesting thing with the 47 squares is that probably about 10% of them aren't the full 10 by 10, because they're the squares that are at like the very edge of the actual pattern. So they're about 8 stitches wide and 10 stitches high. And then at the very top of the page, I've got just one row, like a single row, that are about 10 stitches wide, and a similar thing where it's a single line of stitches vertically as well. So it could very easily be say maybe four, actually no, I'm looking at the wrong numbers. I have got 35 squares. So ultimately, we could calculate that down to maybe 30 days, like a month worth of stitching, if I do like one square per day. Noting that for some of the squares, they will be confetti heavy, so they may spread across a couple of days. So I think I'm well and truly in place for getting this project done before the 18th of September, which is my goal. So I've then got roughly a month to get it framed up, actually, or even less than a month to get it framed up. And then my friend's birthday is on the 18th of October. So I'm really looking forward to being able to get this framed up and gift it to her for a birthday. And I don't know if I'll get to see her in person or not. So I don't know how that will go, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So moving on to a project that is going to take me years rather than months to get done is a hot cross stitching design. It's called the Blue Mountains Walking Trail, and this was the other project that I was mentioning that I've sometimes worked on in connection to the football team called the Carlton Blues. And this project is definitely one that I've dubbed to be a lifetime project because it's going to take so long to get done, but it's going to be a work of passion, so to speak, because it'll be one that is just going to look so good. And this is roughly what it will look like when it's done. So yeah, it's going to be okay. Um, this is where I'm at so far. This is all DMC thread, and I think I've got it around the right way. Um, so I'm stitching this on the 28 count easy grid fabric, and the squares are 20 by 20. So ultimately, one square should be 200 stitches. And this is where I am starting to try and square it off a bit to make life a lot easier. So I'm trying to get some of the confetti sorted out here. So just to try and even it out, so that way when Carlton do win the odd game, it might make my life just a little bit easier to just go, I don't care what the score is, I'm just going to put 200 stitches into it, which might end up taking me about a week to do if it's a confetti heavy section. So with this particular project, I put just 120 stitches into it. So in these kinds of projects, they're just like a drop in the ocean. I would need to get a couple of thousand stitches done for this project for us to really see a significant difference or change in its appearance. But it's okay, it'll get there. I'm stitching this 1/1, and I like the coverage so far. It's turning out pretty well. There is the odd stitch there where I've put 2/1, so two strands over one fabric square. Mostly because I was feeling lazy and I just couldn't be bothered to do just one strand for the square because it might have been just like a really short strand of floss. But it is what it is. It's all good. Um, so the next project I have to share with you is a Bothy Threads kit called A Dictionary of Dogs. This is what it'll look like when it's done, and I'm working on dog ends at the moment. So this is connected to the Western Bulldogs, and I've put a minimum of 207 stitches into this, and this is how it's looking so far. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how well the white will show up when I start working on the poodle dog end, but wait and see. It's all good. I don't have a lot to say on that one. I'm using all of the kit fabric, kit colours, that kind of thing. It's, yeah, a really nice, easy stitch. The next project I have to share with you is 12 Days of Christmas. This chart is out of the Ultimate Cross Stitch Christmas, and the chart is by Rhona Norrie, and this is what it'll look like when it's done if I used all the called for stuff. And this is where I'm at so far. It's looking really cool. Sorry about that. Distractions. So, one of the really cool things with 12 Days of Christmas, which has helped a bit with just how much progress I've been able to make with this, is that it's connected to two teams, um, the Saints and the Swans. Um, I'm a supporter of the Swans, and this season hasn't been their greatest. But anyway, the really cool thing with this project is a couple of weeks ago, Swans played a historic game in the sense that their final score was 205 points, and generally speaking, in the league of AFL, it is rare for any team to score that many points in a game. It's definitely happened over the years, and since I've become an avid watcher of the league, and I'm still learning about the rules, how it works, and everything in between. This has definitely been the first game that I've watched where so many goals have been kicked, and in at the end of the game, there was a 171 point difference between the winners and the losers, and it was massive. And I really felt for the team that lost, where they're very much getting the wooden spoon at the end of the season, which is certainly disappointing for the players. It would have been so hard for them to find that motivation to try and keep going throughout that game. To know that you had so many points kicked against you that it was just going to be impossible to try and catch up and get the win, or at least reduce the margin of win versus loss. But that was just epic. It was huge. It was just mind blowing kind of stuff. And the the interesting thing with the Swans, when they played last week, they played against a team they were up against last year in the grand final, and Swans had their asses handed to them in that game last year. And the game they played last week, it's the third time they have played this team this year. Is a weird thing with the way the scheduling has gone. I realise I'm going on a tangent here, but it sort of is giving a bit of a backstory for why the game they played last week, they only scored 54 points, and they tied with that team. So it was nice knowing that they didn't get their asses handed to them yet again. But it meant that I needed to put 54 stitches into this, as well as 54 stitches into Barnyard Kittens, because the team's tied. But it means that I'm just getting a little bit more closer to getting this project done. So this is being stitched on 28 count even weave. It could be Lagana, I can't remember. It's fabric I've had in my stash for a while, and I'm using all DMC threads, and it's got a combination of quarter stitches, full cross, It's going to take a bit for me to do the back stitch on, but I think it'll be worth it. It already has some personalizations in it. One of the obvious personalizations is where we see the French hen. I'm just trying to fold this up a little bit. So the French hen, where we see near the bottom of the number 5, you'll see that there's a bit of a gap at the moment. That's because I miscounted initially when I was stitching that French hen, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do exactly for that one. I might just stitch some green, and when it comes to the back stitching, call it a personalization, who knows. So that's just a bit of the significance with 12 Days of Christmas, because the Swans, they had a massive win, and who knows when the next team will have such a significant win or loss. But yeah, it's a significant thing to happen in football. But let's get back to the stitching a bit more. The next project I have to share with you is a hot cross stitching design. It is called Dewdrop Daisy, and one that featured heavily last year because it had been part of the stitching challenge that I was doing for myself to get 22,000 stitches in the year 2022. And this is what Dewdrop will look like when it's done. Glare. Okay. So that's roughly what it'll look like. I've been able to put a minimum of 93 stitches in at this time, and it's definitely coming together. And it'd be nice to think that if I really knuckled down and focused on this piece, I could get it done by the end of next year. But the likelihood of that actually happening is probably quite small, just because my timing of how long it's going to take to get things done is not great. So I'm stitching this 2/2 using DMC thread. I can't quite remember what the stitch count is for the fabric. It could be 28 count, it could be 32, it could be any number you give me except for the lower counts like 14 or anything. But I'm stitching it using all DMC thread, 2 strands over 2 fabric squares, and it is definitely going to be happy days when this is done. I'll definitely get it framed up and it'll hang on a wall somewhere, and it'll be really nice to get it done. And what I love with this project is that I'll have to do another stitch with me to actually show why I love stitching 2/2 on this type of fabric or this count of fabric. I've been able to do it with 12 Days of Christmas and similar projects where it's over 2 fabric squares, because I've learned that I can do a neater way of finishing off a full cross when it's just like I'm losing words. I've got the word spaghetti in my brain. The word confetti, spaghetti. Anyway, for the confetti stitches, it is a way of just being able to neaten up and secure the stitch, and I found it to be useful if I'm also doing cross-country stitching. It'll make more sense. I don't know when I'll film it or get it posted. If you are really keen to know what I'm rambling on about with the stitch, the best equivalent I can link it to would be like a pin stitch, almost, with how I start off or finish off a single stitch on the fabric. Anyway, enough rambling. Next project. Next project is another full coverage. It is a brand that I'm going blank on. It's called His Master's Voice Mini. It is a heaven and earth design, and this one has gotten. Did I mention? No, I think I did. Anyway, with His Master's Voice, I've been able to put 312 stitches in for that project, and this is based on artwork by Lisa Parker. So this is roughly what the project will look like when it's done, which is really cool. I love her artwork. And I'm stitching this on the Easy Grid fabric, and I love that it's really starting to take shape now. That from this camera I can see the definition in the cat's paw. It's got a lot of black in it. I had been tempted to stitch this on black fabric just to make life a little bit easier and potentially reduce how much black I would have to stitch, which would mean that it wouldn't end up being a full coverage. It is what it is. It's a mini, which makes life a little bit easier. And the difference that I'm doing for this compared with many of the other full coverages that I'm stitching is that I'm doing this 2/1 because I find that I get better coverage. So as a comparison, I'll see if I can bring this a little bit closer. Okay, so it's not showing up very well on the camera because I think I've got fabric folded over. I'm not sure if you can see in the camera very well, but the very top of the stitching I've done, that's 1/1. And I'm not happy with the amount of fabric that's showing through. It could be because of the floss that I'm using. I am using all the called for colors and the DMC threads, but yeah, I'm just preferring the coverage that I'm getting with the two strands. So wait and see as to whether or not I remain happy with that choice. So that's that. So that is the end of all the main stitching that I've been doing, and in terms of the stitching challenge that I've got. The next project that I do have to share with you ties in really well with the next segment that I'll be talking about in terms of life stuff. But we'll get to the stitching first. So I've been working a little bit on Spring and Stars Hollow. This was my travel piece for last weekend, and I started Spring and Stars Hollow for the stitching challenge this year. So it was the Spring and Stars Hollow stitching retreat that I did with the Black Needle Society, and I'm stitching it on the same fabric as Autumn in Stars Hollow. And so I don't know if I have like a proper before and after kind of pic for the Spring and Stars Hollow, but this is where I'm at so far. So I was doing a lot of stitching around the Owl's Pancake World. I've done a bit more on the guitar, doing a bit more with the lipstick, and yeah, it's all coming together. So with this particular piece, I feel, and I guess it's a bit like that. This feeling for many of the other Stars Hollow Stitching Retreat patterns, because I don't have all of the required threads. So I almost feel like the way I'm stitching these projects is a bit like a choose your own adventure or choose your own colors situation, where I'm still trying to remain true to the chart and pick colors that are as close to the finished project as I practically can. but also use a bit of personalization and creativity to really make the piece my own, and be able to use some of the threads that I have in my collection or in my stash that I may not normally have been able to use unless I've charted something my own, or used a pattern where I've just gone, look, I love the pattern. I just want to change out every single color otherwise. And I know that there are some people who do that, and I love that level of creativity that they do. So I don't know how many stitches I put into this piece during my travel time. This is being stitched on, I think this is 28 count linen, and it's by Fibre on a Whim. It's called Presenting Lorelei Gilmore. It had come in the autumn in Stars Hollow Stitching Retreat box, and it's really nice fabric. I'm stitching this as 2/2, so 2 strands of floss over 2 fabric squares, and I think it's turning out really well. I'm enjoying this, and this is where I feel like I want to rush through some of these projects that I'm doing for the stitching challenge, so I can work on these sorts of projects. And um, the slightly good thing with the stitching challenge is that it's going to finish up in a few weeks' time, so roughly in September or October, roughly that. So it'll be all good. So that's it for stitching. So if by chance you're just here for the stitching and you don't want to know about any life stuff that's going on or anything along those lines, I'll say goodbye to you now, and I hope that I get to see you again in a few weeks' time when I film another Flosstube. But if you are keen to stick around to hear about some life stuff that's going on, let's get into it. So I mentioned with the Spring and Stars Hollow piece that it was my travel piece because I was traveling last weekend, and I travelled on my own last week Thursday afternoon from Wollongong up to Brisbane. So I flew on, I think it might be one of those smaller planes that fits about 34 odd people on the plane. It's the smallest plane I've been on to go anywhere. And it was an interesting experience where I have grown up enjoying being on going on roller coaster rides and theme park rides, those sorts of things. And being in that headspace helped a lot with any turbulence that we experienced during the flight, especially when it got closer to taking off or landing, because it had been fairly windy in the Wollongong area. Brisbane wasn't too bad. But yeah, with Wollongong, it's definitely been fairly windy around here, especially last week. And I know the winds are going to pick up again this coming weekend too. So happy days. So the reason why I went up to Brisbane, up to Queensland, is because I participated in the Gold Coast Airport 5K fun run, and the good thing is that it did not take place at the airport. Who knows what kind of chaos could happen on that? So the actual run took place at the Southport, in the suburb of Southport, on the Gold Coast, and it's a beautiful spot. It's right near the theme park of SeaWorld, if by chance you're familiar with that area of the Gold Coast. And it's a huge event that spans across 2 days. There are many many events that happen across that weekend in terms of different running distances that people can participate in. And initially, I was going to be flying up on the Friday because I just thought, look, I just want to be in, out, done, dusted, and be back here by Sunday. The run took place on Saturday, the 1st of July. My flight ended up getting changed from Friday morning to Friday afternoon, and then I reread some fine print to realise that I needed to pick my running bib up the from a completely different location to where the running event was happening, and if I kept my flight times as they were, I would not be able to get to the location in time to pick up the bib. And the importance of having that running bib is that, I guess, two things. It proves that you are legitimately are allowed to be running in that event. You're not doing it in any dodgy kind of way. And also, there's like timing chips connected to those running bibs, so you don't have to worry about stopwatches that are on your wrist or any stopwatches or tracking devices on your phone or anything like that. So all you have to really worry about is just doing your thing with the running, because the timing chip on the bib talks to different things that are on the course to help you with knowing when you started, when you finished, and what time you got as part of that event that you participated in. And so I was lucky enough to be able to change flights and fly up on the Thursday afternoon. And the accommodation that I stayed in was just across the road from the location I needed to pick my running bib up from. And I'm so glad that I was able to fly up on the Thursday instead, because I caught trains from Brisbane down to my accommodation, and that it felt like it took longer than it should have. It still took a fair bit. I think it was nearly 3 hours of train travel between the airport and my accommodation. So I think I got off at Brisbane Airport and it was a bit after 6:30 in the evening. And I got to the accommodation, I think it was a little after 10 in the evening. And I think I was in bed by roughly 10:30, maybe a little bit afterwards. So yeah, it took longer than it should have. That's mostly my learning curve. I got off a train that I should have stayed on, because it was one of those express trains that goes from the airport to a suburb called Helensvale. And what I didn't fully understand at the time with the train that I was on, with it being an express train, is that it was after a certain point, it was only going to stop at a certain number of stops. And I misheard what was going on with the people speaking on the PA system. And I thought that it wasn't going to stop at the stop I needed. And I was freaking out, going, oh my gosh, this would be just my luck that I got on the wrong train and I'm going to have to walk for hours to get to where I need. And this is just what goes on in my headspace. So the good thing is that I got off at a station, at Central Station, got on the next train, and it ended up being one of those trains that stops at every single stop, but it wasn't going to get me fully to where I needed. So I was able to have a chat with a couple of security guards on the train. They were absolutely awesome and amazing and wonderful with them being able to help me out, because the additional stress of my travel for that evening, my phone ran out of battery charge, and before I left to go up to Queensland, my boyfriend says, "Oh, I've got like one of those special battery charger things that you can attach to your mobile phone when you're traveling. And he said, "Oh, do you want to take that with you?" And I said, "Oh, no, no, no. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I don't need that. It'll be okay." I should have taken that. It would have saved me so much stress and worry and all of that craziness. But the good thing is, I'm safe. I'm sound. I have learnt my lesson. Um, and I got to the accommodation. I got to where I needed. I had a safe space to sleep, to rest my head, and it worked out in the end. I had a majority of Friday just to chill, do whatever I needed, pick up the bib. I did some shopping, and I probably should have gone for a little bit of a jog, just for a couple of kilometres, just to remind the legs that it can move, that it can run. So it might have helped my legs not feel so heavy during the run I did on the Saturday. So one of the things I am proud of with the run is that I did the run in 33 minutes and 49 seconds. I am super proud of that because I know that I'm getting closer to my goal of running 5 kilometers in 30 minutes. And last year, when I did the run, I was just coming out of recovering from plantar fasciitis, so just really tight muscles connected to my feet. Because I was not stretching enough or warming up or cooling down properly with all of the different training that I was doing to do with running and just going to the gym. So it's improved 10 times over now. I rarely get any kind of pain now when it comes to running. Any discomfort I feel is because of any muscle tightness that I feel because of what I've done at the gym. I make sure that I actually warm up now. And with last year's time, I did it in 35 minutes and 15 seconds. I'm really proud of that time as well because I didn't think I'd get that time. I thought I was going to be running a little bit slower because of muscle tightness and such that was going to give me grief. So this is where me and maths and numbers don't get along. It took me nearly a week to figure out that I only beat my time by 1 minute and 45 seconds or thereabouts. I was telling people that I improved my time by 2 minutes and 30 seconds or thereabouts, because I just hadn't quite properly calculated the time difference. So that's where, like, even improving a time by a minute 45, that is still a significant thing. That's nothing to be sneezed at all. But to even improve a time by just a few seconds is still an achievement because you've been able to put the time and the effort and training into it. And who knows what else you've had to deal with for the training, like what other challenges you might have had, whether it be lifestyle, personal challenges, anything else. So that's got me motivated to keep pushing, to keep trying, because I'm getting closer to my goal. It's a goal that I've had for several years, for the 5 kilometers. So we'll get there. As long as I can try and stay focused for what I need, it'll be all right. So, life stuff. There's still some more to come. Just bear with me. Okay, so you've heard me ramble on a fair bit about the running and how all of that went. So thank you for hearing me out on that one. I was able to get back here to Wollongong on Sunday, the 2nd of July, without any worries. The travel went 10 times smoother than it did when I was traveling up. I made sure that I got on the trains and trams that I needed to without any worries. One of the positive things with where I was staying is that I was, I guess, the second stop to get on to the tram to get up to Helensvale, which is the transition point or changeover point to get from, I guess, the Gold Coast to the theme parks or up to Brisbane or anywhere else that you may need. It's not quite like a central station thing, but it's by the by. The significance of it being the second stop is that I was on the tram at the time when a lot of the marathoners were getting on board to get to Southport to start their enormous, giant long run. So for the marathon, they started, I think, at about 6:30 in the morning. I was on the tram at about bit before 5 in the morning, and probably about halfway to Southport, 'cause it would take maybe half an hour to get to Southport. The tram was already full, and it was cramped. I felt so bad that I had my suitcase with me because if I didn't have my suitcase, that could have meant that at least two more people, if not four people, could have been on the train. But it is what it is. I needed to get to where I needed to be, so I shouldn't feel guilty about needing my suitcase with me. So everything worked out well. So since I've been back from the Gold Coast, I've just been chilling and doing stitching, catching up on the stitching that I needed for being away over the weekend when a lot of the football was happening. And it also means that I can almost be a tourist in I guess it's my new hometown. Canberra will always be my hometown. It is what it is. But I get to be a tourist and get to know my new hometown. So I have been sitting on the couch watching a lot of Netflix, doing a lot of stitching over the last few days, and I have been out and about doing a bit of running, and I've started a new training plan to help me reach the goals that I need. But I also need to get out. Michael's still working, and he's been fantastic with having the door closed so I'm not interrupting him, so I can just potter around the unit and do what I need to do. But today I'm actually going to get out a bit. There's a historical site called Hill 60 that's maybe a 10 to 15 minute drive south of where I live. And it, if I'm remembering correctly, was a historical site that was used during World War II as like a defence point or lookout point to help defend a part of the east coast of Australia. And it'll be interesting to go there to learn more about that particular spot and learn about its significance to Wollongong. And the other thing that I need to do, because I'm looking out the windows just past this camera here that look north, and they are grotty. I need to do some window cleaning. We were due to do some window cleaning last weekend, but we just never got around to it. So I do need to do that, do some window cleaning, and hopefully not get blown away, because the wind I think is due to start picking up today, if not definitely tomorrow, and for the next 3 days. So I did mention that my best mate was going to be coming up on Sunday, so that will be really good to see her. Don't know if she's coming up by herself or with the dog and with her husband or any combination in between. We'll just wait and see how that goes. But otherwise, I'm really keen to get a lot more stitching done. I might get some more done on Spring in Stars Hollow or Summer in Stars Hollow or any of the other projects that I've got on the go that I haven't shared with you yet. So thank you all so much for your time. This has been a really long episode, but I think it's one that has been well overdue because life has happened. I do hope in 2 weeks' time that I'll get to catch up with you all again. At the moment, I'm not 100% sure because I have no doubt that I'll probably need to travel again, most likely down to Canberra, just to check up on the house that we've got there, get security stuff sorted out, and it'll be all right. But this weekend will be nice to not have to travel anywhere. And until next time, happy stitching, and I'll see you next time.